And he hears him reading this passage, led like a lamb to the slaughter. You know, like a sheep before a shearer. He was silent. No one can speak of his descendants. And Philip asks him an amazing sentence. This is a great sentence, okay? You need to remember this sentence. Do you understand what you are reading? Do you understand what you are reading? Of course, the Ethiopian, what's he do? He goes, no, this doesn't make sense at all. Is he talking about himself or is he talking about somebody else? And then Philip goes on to tell him the wonderful news about Jesus. Now, I want to give you a bit of my history, my story. See, the reason why the Bible is so amazing to me and why it is so important to me is because quite literally God saved me by the book. So I was a typical, well, I say atypical, but maybe I'm not. I might have been abnormal, but I was a 17-year-old Aussie male full of testosterone, and I had all the answers. Trust me, I did. You asked me, I would have told you. Unfortunately, there was someone who disagreed with me. His name was Dad. And quite often we would have battles. And some of those battles were constructive, but most of them weren't. And anyway, after one particular battle where we were not going to give ground at all, and it ended really uglily. I can say really uglily, if that's a real word. But it ended physically. And I went downstairs to my room. My bedroom was downstairs in the house. All the other rooms were upstairs. I went downstairs to my room and I was mad. Oh, I was so frustrated, jaw clenched, fist clenched. You get it. And I am going to my room. I've got tears in my eyes. I'm frustrated and angry. And outside my bedroom door is a bookshelf. And as I walk past, I give this bookshelf an almighty thump with my left fist. And one book leapt off that shelf and hit the ground. Exactly, you know which book it is, the Bible. And for some strange reason, I picked that book up and I went into my room and I sat on my bed just with tears and angry. And I just sat on the bed beside me and I just went, oh, I'm out of here, I've had enough. And for some strange reason, I grabbed that book and I just flicked it open and had a look. And I read passages that talked about counting the cost of following this man named Jesus. Now, it's not often that people could probably share with you that the passages that got them saved were ones where it said, and because you will follow me, people will curse you and abuse you, they will spit on you, they will flog you, and they'll even stone you to death. Those are the words that I read. Now, those words sound shocking, and most people would not preach those words on a Sunday morning, to say, look, to follow Jesus, you could die. To follow Jesus, people will abuse you. To follow Jesus, people will hurt you. And you go, oh, hang on, I don't know if that's what I signed up for. But those words were real to me for a very good reason. See, I lived on the north side of Brisbane. I grew up there, about 16 k's from the city. So it wasn't that far out. But back then, I lived across the road from a lettuce farm. Now, if you ever offer me a green salad, I'll politely say no, because I cannot stand lettuce. When you have to plant it and pick it and box it and load on trucks and everything else, I just can't stand this stuff. Actually, it doesn't make sense why it was created. I'm going to ask God that question. It's like 95% water, God. What is it? Just get a glass of water and drink that instead. But I worked on this lettuce farm, and I was this angry young man, and I worked on a lettuce farm with another kid in my neighbourhood who was the same age as me, and he would come down to the farm all happy and cheerful and singing songs that he'd sung at church. He would be what I called the happy clappy bappy, because he went to the local Baptist church. And I would do anything I possibly could to get him to stop. I would swear at him and I would yell at him. I even spat in his direction when he would walk past me. I even threw rocks at him just to get him stopped. Fast forward 6 to 9 months later, here I am in my bedroom, tears down my eyes, reading those words, and all of a sudden this voice in my head said to me, Mark, you are on the wrong team. And I was a very sporting young man. I played a lot of sport. And so for me, that hit home. Wow, I'm on the wrong team. What does it mean to be on the right team? And away I went with my wonderful journey to follow Christ from there. But that story is very similar to this Ethiopian, because I'm reading those words and they did not make sense to me. I can say that right now. They did not make sense to me. The whole concept of the words, I got that bit. I got the throwing rocks and that bit because I did that. I knew my actions were against the followers of Jesus, but I didn't understand what it meant to follow Jesus. I still had more questions than I had answers. And here's this Ethiopian, and as we read that fantastic passage there, in this rich historic land, a road that's always been travelled, and lots of great history there. Philip rides up beside him and says, hey, do you understand the words that you are reading? Oh, I've got no idea. Well, let me explain them to you. Now, this is where the mission of the Bible is so exciting. Now, as I said, I'm the state director of the Bible Society. And so for us, the mission of the Bible is what we're about. Very, very much so. Now, I just want to share a couple of stories about how the mission of the Bible has done some amazing things to transform the world. 2 years ago, we took a very unusual, probably risky mission opportunity and went with it. We actually, the Bible Society, set up a stand at an adult expo at Brisbane Convention Centre. And usually if I pause for long enough, I've ostracised people. You know, they go, oh, hang on a second, that's a bit risque. And you're right, it is. And it is a very risky mission field. But we did that because God gave us an opportunity to minister to people who were lost and who desperately needed God. So we got these fantastic little Bibles with a particular cover. I won't say what the cover is just because I'd like to be protective of audiences. But the cover said, Jesus loves and then fill in the blank. But this Bible, we had 3,000 of them. This expo goes for 4 days. We gave them all away within day one. They were all gone. 3,000 of them all gone, day one. Had people coming up and grabbing it and going, is this for real? And we're going, yes, it is. Going back to their stands where they're peddling inappropriate things. And while they're doing that, reading the Bible. Anyway, 6 months later, we get a phone call. And on the other end of the phone, this gentleman says, hey, are you the organisation that handed those Bibles out at the Adult Expo? And we said, oh, yes, we are. And he says, oh, I'd like to get 500 of them, please. And we went, oh, well, we actually handed them all out. We haven't got any left. What do you want 500 of them for? And he goes, I want to put them in the glove box of wicked camper vans. Has anyone seen those wicked camper vans driving around? Like these old dunga vans with graffiti all over them. And literally backpackers come and take them and camp in front of a beach or something like that. And we just went, that's a fantastic idea. Love it that you've got a heart for that. Look, let's see what we can do. But first things first, we probably really need to go and talk to the owners of wicked camper vans and see if they're happy to do that. And the voice on the other end of the phone says, I've already spoken to Dad and he's fine with it. Oh! Now, Dad, who owns the company, his son is a Christian. So if you ever see some of those vans, some of them are like, I can't believe that's on the road, where some of them seem to have sort of a Bible message in it. And you sort of go, wow, how does that work? Well, it's the influence of the son. So we actually went about